Also here, former economic advisor to President Trump and Committee to Unleash Prosperity co-founder Stephen Moore, and the former Democratic New York State Senator, David Carlucci. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us this 4th of July. Steve, I'll start with you here. If you look at what this bill does and the money with the tax cuts that this puts into the economy, you know, we had a pretty good jobs report yesterday. Is there a concern of overheating the economy and kicking inflation back up again?
Well, we haven't seen any inflation under Trump. He's been president now for 4.5 years, and the inflation rate has actually been below the Fed target. So, no. By the way, there's no such thing as overheating an economy. You always want to create as many jobs as possible, as many opportunities, as much growth. I've been saying, look, I've been in Washington for 40 years. I think this is one of the most exciting bills. I can't wait for this president to put the signature on this bill. And by the way, shame on the Democrats. 260 Democrats in Congress, in the House and Senate, every single one of them voted for a $4 trillion tax increase next year, which would be the tax equivalent of dropping a nuclear bomb on our economy. And so I don't understand why so many Democrats didn't do what they did under JFK and under Ronald Reagan. Let's all come together, cut taxes, make America more prosperous. It always works.
David, you're a Democrat. We saw Senator Putterman weigh in, saying he thinks that more of his fellow Democrats should express pride in their country. And here on the 4th of July, we have the optics of this big bill signing ceremony at the White House. What do you make of all of this?
Well, I think there's no question Democrats and Republicans alike should be patriotic and prideful of our country. There's a lot to be proud of. But when it comes to the big, beautiful bill, it's really a big broken promise by the president, wrapped up in a red, white, and blue bow today with the signing ceremony. Talk about an economic disaster. Many of these same Republicans that voted and championed this bill were the ones that decried the deficit. And now we're heading towards a multi-trillion-dollar deficit because of this bill. And at the same time, we're not helping the people that need it the most. This bill is really a reverse Robin Hood. Instead of stealing from the rich to give to the poor, this is taking from the poor, middle class, and giving to the rich. So it's very problematic. And I'm hopeful that we're going to be able to mitigate the blunt of this and do our best to make sure that less people get kicked off of their health care and more Americans are going to be able to access SNAP benefits, which the Congressional Budget Office tells us that's going to be a real problem, where millions of people are going to lose those safety net benefits that help them and allow them to live a productive life.
Steve, to David's point on the debt here, I mean, you got a $5 trillion debt ceiling increase in here. You don't put that in if you think it's going to be a big moneymaker, right?
Yeah, look, Joe Biden added almost $8 trillion to our debt in 4 years. He was the most fiscally irresponsible president in history. It's going to take a long time, David is right, to dig out of this hole. But you can't do it if you don't have a booming economy. You need to put people back to work. You get to get inflation down. The Biden inflation went up. Your prices went up 25 to 30%. I'm not so sure how that helped middle class and low income people. So this is going to create, I think, an opportunity society for everybody. And incidentally, the people who were made poorer were not under Trump. I mean, Trump was in his first term, we saw every income group do better. That wasn't what happened under Biden. We now have the census data that shows that the group that did the worst under Joe Biden were lower income people and middle income people. Rich people did just fine under Joe Biden. So, look, I think everybody's going to do better. I think you're going to have more school choice. I think you're going to have health care savings accounts, which is a big part of this bill.
Well, unfortunately, it's undoing a lot of the positives that Joe Biden was able to do. The CHIPS Act, the Inflation Reduction Act, a lot of the signature pieces there that have spurred growth and investment across the country are now being peeled back. So it's very concerning to me, and I don't see where this economic growth comes from besides just wishful thinking.
If it was an Inflation Reduction Act, why did we have the highest inflation under Joe Biden since Jimmy Carter? He was a total disaster on inflation.
All right, Steve Moore, David Carlucci, we can debate on Independence Day. It's part of the American spirit. Thank you for being so patriotic today.
That's right.
Happy 4th of July to you both. Well, that was quite.
Yeah, happy Independence Day. Thank you.
That was quite a show and quite an ending to the show, Claudia. I tell you what.